This week, for my assignment with organizational change, I decided to choose top-down communication. The issue I'm finding within my agency and many other agencies similar is that the information that's passed between the administrative side and the operational side, or we'll say line staff, is not always clear, and there's a huge disconnect. The problem is employees are seeing a organizational change and they don't have all the information to understand why that change is taking place. An example being, in my agency, we could be taking on a new area to provide service. And when the line staff finds out about this, we can think of as firefighters is, okay, how many more calls is this going to bring to this station? How's this going to affect the equipment, the staffing? How's this going to change my day? Because all we can see is what we do every day in the operational side of things, running calls. Do we have enough what we need in order to actually provide this service to this area? So we start to make these assumptions based on only what we see. The difference is the administration who's actually enacting this new area that we're going to be providing service, they have so many other things that they're thinking of. They're thinking of the financial burden. Who's paying for it? Why are we taking over this new area? How is it impacting other city services? How is it impacting the citizens themselves? Is it taking away services from other citizens so I can provide new service to this new area? Or do I have to add new equipment and new personnel and staffing in order to service this area? So with this whole disconnect, these rumors start to brew on the operations side or line staff because we only have limited information and we can only think of what we see and what we do every day. So this really talks on Chester Bernard's formal versus informal organization and communication. And it actually is a good example of how important these two work together. And when one isn't working well with the other, the one of them becomes very powerful. So in this case, the formal communication between administration and operations is very weak, to where that informal or rumor communication just becomes the most powerful form of communication, and it takes over. It changes morale. It changes people's opinion on how the administration is actually running the department, how they feel about, the direction of the department, and ultimately starts to degrade the trust that the workers have in their leaders. Now, this can be prevented, and this can actually be improved when we look at Gulick and Taylor's situation. Now, we know Taylor created the scientific method. They both agree on the chain of command, which is simply you have one boss who has another boss, and you stick within that line of communication, and the unity of command being almost a mirror image of that. The difference between Taylor and Gulick, though, is that out of his three areas that he believes needs to be well lubricated in order for an organization to work, his POSCORB acronym for organization is really what we focus on here. The POSCORB being what managers actually are doing. He says, we're going to plan, they're going to orders, they're going to create staffing, directing, but reporting is the one I want to focus on, though. And I think when Gulick wrote this, he's more looking at it from a organization, maybe reporting to shareholders, maybe financials, things like that. But we're going to use this as maybe communication between upper and lower level management and eventually line staff. And if you improve this communication portion or reporting portion, as Gulick is coining it here, you can improve that top-down leadership role and that communication flow, which is then going to improve morale, which is ultimately what you're going to try and do. And where we talk about this is where Weber uses bureaucracy as a positive, to where we know that your politics side and administrative side have to work together in order to accomplish a goal, which is the same thing here. Our line staff would be more of our politics in this situation, where they're looking at, okay, we want, new equipment in order to service this new area. We need a ladder truck because this area has like a 14-story building that we need to be able to reach the top of now. So we need new equipment to do it. versus the administrative side is focus on, okay, how are we going to pay for all this? I just need to enact, I know I need to cover this area, so now I need to enforce it. We're going to do that. So together they need to communicate, which is really the issue at hand. So one solution I have is regular updates. And I worked for an organization where the chief would actually try and go physically meet with each and every crew in the department, which is okay if maybe you have one station, but when you have multiple stations, now all that time spent away from the office, away from doing administrative functions, the chief is no longer doing what the chief needs to be doing for the department. So where our current organization has gone is the chief will film a video update of all the major components that are happening within the organization, and he'll send it out every month. And this is actually a great option and a tool that has been used in order to educate both sides and keep everyone on the same page. He works well with the line staff as well as the labor groups in order to pick topics that are hot, if you could say that, within the stations, and helps identify certain things that we're all asking the same question and he tries to give the same answer. So this is actually a good option. The difference though is that now we need to have bottom up communication. And like what Goodnow, how he builds on Wilson's kind of foundation between the separation of the two, but that they both need to work together in harmony, that sometimes you're going to have one of those organizations influence the other more heavily, and it kind of it could really help in this case of the ladder truck, for example. The informal organization, the operations side, or let's just call it the politics side, to kind of bring it all back together, looks at it as, we have a new 14-story building that we now have to provide fire protection to. We need a ladder truck in order to do that. And we pass that information back up through the chain of command, and we communicate that with the administration, or the administration side, where they see, oh, okay, we were more thinking about call volume, maybe money, services, so now we understand, okay, yeah, I do understand that we're going to need to improve staffing and equipment in order to actually do what we want to do. So by using all these components together, we can actually affect this positive change within the department and keep everyone on the same page. And I think that would be a better way to keep morale and to improve communication within our agency.